the better organized they are, the easier it is to instill a sense of organizational culture and to look into, from a strategic point of view, just really how do we engage? It's no longer just a PR question. One of the most important skills to have, therefore, is to handle conflict well.
Who is Mr. Christoph, and how does he make the world a better place?
Oh, that is a very good question. I ask myself that question as well every day. How am I actually am I actually doing something about that? Well, I would probably describe myself as somewhat of a specialist in terms of governance and compliance questions, although also general management consulting strategy. That's sort of where I come from. And especially very much also focusing on the legal sector. So I've worked with lawyers and law firms for, gosh, now nearly 20 years, I think, on and off. So the legal sector really is something that is quite close to my heart, having studied law as well originally as well. I'm currently in the process of writing up my thesis for let's say a doctoral thesis for a doctorate in business administration over here in the UK. I'm living myself in Henley-on-Thames, and hence I'm studying at Henley Business School. That's where I will do that. And so I'm also more and more jumping into lecturer roles as well on those topics of governance, board governance, C-suite questions, that we may have. And so right now so that's partially also in the company that I work for, that I own, where I'm a partner and C-level officer as well. Having also worked for a law firm most recently as their chief governance officer for 7 jurisdictions, that sort of really jumped me into the role as well. And I think having now rejoined ICS again in July last year, and I'm saying rejoined because I used to work for them in the past, already from 2016 to 2019, in fact in the same role. Having rejoined them now, this is sort of what I'm bringing with me now as well, this expertise in terms of governance, C-suite management questions, highest level of leadership for organizations, the insights that I was able to gain actually over the last years as well, that I now am in a position to pass on in terms of knowledge to my colleagues, help them manage their clients, help them advise their clients in crucial leadership questions as well, respectively become myself really deeply involved in our clients' work when it comes to, I said, board governance, and questions that they may have about their future going on from there. So my everyday good deed is something that I'm trying to sort of incorporate around those areas to help our clients, help my team, and sort of empower them basically to be able to develop themselves as well going forward in that area, in that field of management. I should say probably, yeah, that is really what I want to do, because for myself, I see a well-organized organization and especially at leadership level, the top management teams, the TMTs, the better organized they are, the more or the clearer they know about their position, their relevance, and the impact that they're having. I think easy is the wrong word to tell. I was about to say the easier it is to instill a sense of organizational culture. Easy is possibly not the right word, but you can facilitate a lot, let's see, about having clarity at the top level as to where the journey is going and how you want to go about things in your professional life, and also asking them the somewhat old Simon Sinek question, why and why are we doing all of this? And it was actually not Simon Sinek who coined the phrase. He was the one who made it popular, but this question has been asked many times before in literature about purpose. So, but again, the purpose comes from that top leadership team, and the better you are able to formulate it, the better you are able to delineate your own individual C-suite functions, the board functions above that as well. The easier it becomes to facilitate, to instill that sense of belonging, the sense of purpose, the sense of culture, basically, in an organization. And that's what I'm, as I my daily good deeds. That's what I'm trying to advance and to further.
Well, I'm also a big fan of Simon Sinek as well in the three golden circles, right? You know, start with why right in the middle. And
Indeed.
purpose is fundamental. Now, what I see from the profile that you've built up throughout these years is somebody that's really advocated to helping people and to teaching others and to sharing in a way that legacy that comes along with that big responsibility, right?
Yep.
Um, is that something that you aim to from the beginning of your career?
Not truly. I had some other visions in mind. I think it's always been there now when I'm looking back. Um, the aspect of being a trainer and like first just a regular level one trainer and then sort of become a trainer of trainers, etc., and facilitator and lecturer and everything like that. It wasn't very clear from the very beginning, but now when I'm looking back, it's always been something that I truly enjoyed. I truly enjoy coaching. I I used to study. Well, I had studied organizational social psychology as well, and with that, I sort of automatically here and there was almost pushed a position in roles where I could mentor people relatively. I don't know how it actually came, to be honest. I think it may have been a series of glad coincidences that just happened to push me that way. But it was definitely something that I realized was somewhat close to my heart. And I think I should say it evolved in the course of some of my studies as well that I had sort of at university level. So especially with like the business school here, where personal leadership development is put at the very center of teaching and getting to know yourself, knowing who you are, what your core values are, you automatically start to ask yourself the question, where am I going to? Why, again, why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? And having that level of reflective practice, I think that was sort of deeply instilled in me. It resonated well, and that's sort of how it became to be that I'm now in a position where I'm 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 privileged, should I say, to be in this position where I was able to, continue also my academic studies and now be in a position to actually say something that has also more academic impact rather than only just practical impact. Whereas before I was always just my goal was to become a consultant. I always wanted to be a consultant. I really like that. I like consulting people. I like working with people, and I like to find solutions to problems together rather than just sitting on my own, in my own, you chamber and sort of on and trying to find solutions to riddles. I find collaboration gets us so much further than anything else really, and cooperation, because we can all then look at problems from various angles. And to be able to then facilitate that in the end of the day was something that I started to enjoy, and here I am. I should say that's yeah.
So initially, we had kind of like a little task that we were gonna do
Mhm.
of reviewing the role of a chief events officer, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna see what the profile kind of should look like, and what tips you could give those inspiring to achieve that role, or if it's even important within an organization. Why would a CEO, a CVO, or chief events officer would be important for an organization? Would you see that as an important role?
When I read the article, I was actually quite intrigued by it because I never really looked at well, I have to say the chief events officer role was it was floated. The idea was floated a few years back as well, so it was not the first time I came across this. And but then I tried to remember, what was the discussion that was going on back in the day. And now this makes me sound awfully old as well. But no, I gave it a bit of a thought as well because I think it is an interesting concept. I really do think it's an interesting concept. Now, the question that I then had, like that popped up in my mind, is why to why would the title be something that is, if we keep it as CEO, whatever the E then stands for, would obviously be awfully close to the actual, like the coined CEO, the executive officer role already. So, and again, now since I'm working a lot with C-suite roles and board and governance, and so the clarity, what I said earlier, that is important to keep at that level is absolutely crucial. So therefore, I would probably not necessarily hang myself up too much in a chief events officer title, because also looking at what was then proposed as a potential sort of job description and everything, I was wondering, would we want to limit ourselves to events only, or should it not be rather something that is a bit more open? And especially in the C-suite, what you want to have is you don't want to be too specialized. I mean, yes, you have verticals that you might want to have positions in, at the top leadership level, that therefore look at what's happening in the verticals. But then you would have events organizers or events officers in that vertical, for example. And then what would the overall vertical that the C-suite role would be heading then? What would that look like? What would that be doing in terms of what the proposed job description was? And then I thought more another kind of CEO, which would be the chief engagement officer, which also has been coined already in industries here and there, because isn't it about engagement? That we're doing this. Isn't it about engagement that we're organizing also? Now, when I'm looking at my current role within ICS, for example, where we are on the one hand a PCO and on the other hand an AMC, so a professional congress organizer and association management company, where we meet in the middle is at the congresses of our clients. But why do we hold congresses? Why do we hold meetings? It's to engage. It's to engage with each other. It's to engage with our constituencies. It's to engage with our industry partners. And therefore, I would really like to take that chief events officer more, probably a level up, upskill it, based also on what was in the description. I thought it was really pointing it for me into engagement. There was customer experience. There was there was the networking bit. There was the strategic bit about bringing the communities together. Why? For the purpose of business development as well, of course, collaboration again. So this altogether for me, that was really something that I would just, describe as engagement from the very top. And then however we then want to define the title is then up to us, obviously, going forward, discussing it. But engagement is sort of the real, yeah, should I say, the real domain now that I do find is, and increasingly so, and this was what came out of the article quite nicely as well. It is definitely something that has been underestimated in the past. It's always been sort of pushed into the marketing and communications sector. And so, yeah, okay, you have your engagement officers, and so it's those people that deal with social media, isn't it? It's not. It shouldn't be, and I fully agree. It should be definitely more widely spread throughout the company as well, or the organization, depending on what it is really, and to look into from a strategic point of view, just really how do we engage? It's no longer just a PR question. It is a question of it's a question for all of us. It's a question for all the C-suite leaders as well. How do I engage with the particular audiences that I am facing? And so therefore, yes, engagement. That's the key phrase for me. I'm unsure at this point really on how to fully implement that. And I guess it would be a very individual thing to do for each organization.
Oh, but that's super interesting that, instead of events, we could call it engagement, because at the end, it's true, that would be like a pivot point that could bring along together and create those synergies between departments, between external clients, internal clients, the board, everything, you know. So engagement as the center of this role, what characteristics would a person need to have to be able to fulfill that role, you know?
Mm. Thinking about it from a level of being at the C-suite, um, uh, what I think a lot of people underestimate when they are a chief officer, chief ex-officer, is that the old saying still stands. It's very lonely at the top. It's very lonely at the top. So the TMT, even though it's described as a management team, yes, they are a management team to an extent, absolutely, but competition is very hard. It's tough up there, and also when you have to take the tough decisions, you will always need to be aware that you will not be everybody's friend, and you cannot be everybody's friend. It is about the strategy that you set, where the company needs to go. That is something that is typically with the CEO, so meaning the executive officer now and the board to decide this is where we're taking the company. This is our strategy. Everybody else fall in and align with that vision, please. And this may sometimes cause rifts and disruptions within the company as well, because not everybody can align themselves and have values that may need to go into that direction. So that's where conflict grows, and one of the most important skills to have, therefore, is to handle conflict well, to be able to see beyond. Perhaps as an engagement officer, also there's a level of diplomacy that I would always like to see in people that work at that highest level, is just to make sure that we're doing this for the greater good, in a sense. We're doing this in the interest of the organization. We're doing this in the interest of everybody who works for the organization, for example. So there is that skill to be able to also convey more challenging messages in a way that people understand, and that they can not just understand but also potentially align themselves with, or at the very least understand at a level that, okay, fine, I may not necessarily be able to fully stand behind this, but I can see the purpose of it again. So going back into the question of the purpose. Um, as an engagement officer, you will have to have an extremely wide and good overview of the company itself, where it's going, where it's been in the past. Appreciate the history of something. Don't just draw a line and well, move this direction now and forget about everything else. It's really to have that holistic, reflective view, I think, on the organization and the ecosystem within which that organization is sitting as well. Um, that is a that is a skill that is not, or a capability that is not to be underestimated, because it really requires the person to really fully immerse themselves with where the organization is placed, where the organization is active, where it wants to go. It requires a level of foresight, industry foresight as well. What will be important for us now, in a year, in 5 years, just to have that level of strategic foresight, I think is truly important. Um, and also, when I mentioned earlier, the sense of diplomacy among the top management team. So again, to be the one who can, if not bring the top management team together, which is the role of the CEO ultimately as well. But as the engagement officer, you would need to engage with each of those verticals in an organization as well, to make sure that they are all aligned as well. Because when you have at the top level, that level of alignment, that's when you can propose a good engagement strategy. If you do not have alignment and then people don't connect with you, then engagement will only ever be partial, and never be 100%. And because it affects finance just as much as it affects business development, or as it affects production, because we all do something again for the purpose. So the overall word purpose again is something that is that goes a lot deeper than just being able to answer the question like, what is our purpose here? It really needs a level of lived experience, I should probably say. So hence it's a very, I would say it's a very far-reaching role in the sense that it could, to a level, be, I would probably regard it as almost something like the CFO is usually the right hand of the CEO, the chief executive officer. The chief engagement officer could be sort of the left hand, because that is sort of to the finances, because that's the reason why we are also there, like as a profit making company, for example. That's something that really needs to work well. But also as a not-for-profit organization, finances really need to work well. So it's not about not making profits for people, but it's about having the funds to develop further and to make sure that you advance the course in a not-for-profit environment. So again, finances are crucial, but on the other hand, the engagement is just as crucial as that. And then for the CEO to make informed decisions as well, I think the CEO will need to see both sides, the finance hardcore data, as well as I should probably call it a little bit more softcore, even though I think in engagement you've got so many hardcore data points that you can nowadays measure trends and probabilities and where we're going, etc., that easily are combined and translated in financial language as well. So I find that actually really two very crucial positions in that regard.
So if we could define in a way chief engagement officer, would you say that it's an individual whose purpose is to align, develop, and collaborate and facilitate collaboration between the organization, that has a strategic mindset, that has great conflict management skills, a great sense of diplomacy, um, great communication skills, and a holistic view of the whole organization to be able to understand, the moving pieces. If you move something over here, how is it going to engage in the other side? Would that be something you would align with?
Yeah, I think I could put my name under that. Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. Probably, I think it's a good starting point. Again, it would probably require a lot more in-depth thinking about this and really think, what does that now really truly mean in reality? What would that person actually really do on a day-to-day basis? But I think in terms of skills and capabilities required, yes, I should say so. That is definitely. I mean, that's what I also just said. So yeah, I think I would definitely. I would definitely use this as a starting point. Yeah.
All right, cool. Amazing. Well, before we wrap up, I would like to know 3 things that you would like for us to take home after this short interview that will help us reach that C-suite level.
3 points. Okay. Ambition is one thing. You need to have the ambition to wanting to be in that position. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of you. Again, we tend to. I underestimated the C-suite as well. I have to say, I'm very honest about it. My first experience was not always it was not necessarily the nicest experience either, because yes, I had the ambition, I wanted it, and I still want it, and it's something that I find is worth pursuing career-wise. However, there comes then the second element that I would put forward, which is resilience. And that is something that I know for myself, and this is a lesson that I'm taking away with me from my first experience as well, is you need to have thick skin. Again, you can't be everybody's friend. And I tend to be, I am a very harmonious person. You see, I really would like everybody to feel good in terms of, what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. We're all working for the same goal, so it's, I'm a diplomat in that sense as well. And I do pick my battles. However, there comes the time when you have to take the decision. And that decision is not going to be, again, as I said earlier, it's not going to be liked by everybody. So you need to have that resilience to say, okay, fine, this is the way we're going now. And I cannot care about, what 10% or 20% of the audience that doesn't like that decision think of me personally. I cannot. I have to move on. This is in the interest of the organization as long as that can be justified. Therefore, we need to find a way forward. So ambition, resilience, and then the third thing is, I should probably say, it's a mix between self-management and self-discipline as well. You need to be quite disciplined with yourself. You need to know the position that you're in. It is something. You need to be organized. You need to try and stay a step ahead of everyone else, and as I be informed about everything. And together with self-discipline and self-management, there's that level of reflexivity again. Know yourself. Is this also truly, like, you can ask yourself that question almost every day, and I did as well. Like, is this truly something that I still enjoy? Do I enjoy doing this? Am I the right person in this role? Yes or no? And not wanting to go overboard with those questions. I mean, you have to not question yourself every day. You have to also have that, as I said, that resilience. But it is good to have a reflective practice, I should say, through self-discipline and self-management, to know your capability and to also recognize that point when that may arrive at some point when you realize, like, well, actually, I'm not quite sure I'm the right person in this role for this organization any longer. I may need to change. This is, so where has this organization gone to? So keep an open eye with foresight. As said earlier, you need to have that level of foresight, um, in order to sort of see also where you are going, where it's taking you, and therefore be honest with yourself as well. Is this where I really want to go? Is this where I can see myself going in the future?
So value, being aware of the value that you're providing and the value that is being perceived at the end, no?
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And that is really, really true. And thank you for saying that. Value is one of the essential questions here, again, also to take with you as well from this guy. The value that you're adding, the core values that you are having yourself, is there a level of congruence with what you're doing, with what the organization is doing, and the values that you have yourself? The more you can stand behind it, the better, the easier it is for you. But the less you have that congruency, of course, there's no match. So yeah, no, I really like that. Thank you for putting that in.
Well, thank you so much, Christoph, for your time. I really appreciate it. We were cut short a little bit because I can see you learning so much from you. Hope to have you back soon in the future here to talk about many other topics that I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to enlighten us with. And I wish you an amazing day. Thank you so much, Christoph.
Thank you so very much, Jorge. It was an absolute pleasure and happy to come back anytime.